Most wars you hear about happen outside. Countries, armies, governments, movements. But the most brutal war you'll ever fight? It's inside you. And the tragedy? Most people don't even know it's happening. They wake up heavy, move through life numb, react without understanding why. Carl Jung knew this better than anyone. He taught that the human psyche isn't a calm surface. It's a battlefield, between your light and your shadow, between who you are and who you pretend to be, between your conscious mind and the hidden forces you refuse to face. This silent war doesn't explode in noise. It whispers, it sabotages. It leaves you wondering why you're tired even when life seems fine. And until you confront it, you'll never truly be free. In this video, we're going to uncover the battle within you, where it begins, why it matters, and how to finally win. Let's begin. From the outside, people look calm. They smile, they laugh, they nod along. But inside, there's chaos, unspoken doubts, buried anger, unacknowledged needs, dreams they don't even admit to themselves. Jung believed that the psyche is divided between the conscious self, what you know, and the unconscious, what you refuse to know. And these two forces do not live peacefully. The unconscious doesn't sit quietly. It pulls at you, sabotages you. It tries to be seen. Your silent war didn't start yesterday. It started the moment you learned that parts of you were wrong. Anger was wrong. Sadness was wrong. Wanting too much was wrong. Speaking too loudly was wrong. So what did you do? You buried those parts. You put on a mask. You built a persona, as Jung called it. A carefully crafted version of yourself, designed to win approval and avoid rejection. But the parts you buried? They didn't die. They just moved underground. And there, in the darkness, they began their rebellion. Every suppressed emotion, every swallowed dream became soldiers in a war against your fake self. And the more you deny them, the harder they fight. You might think the battle is invisible, but it's not. It shows up everywhere. In sudden anger that feels out of character, in the relationships you sabotage for no reason, in the dreams you delay over and over again, in the sadness you can't explain when everything seems fine. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The unconscious mind doesn't care about your schedule, your goals, or your image. It wants to be heard, and if you won't listen consciously, it will force you to listen, through conflict, loss, anxiety, or collapse. This is the cost of ignoring the war. The war doesn't end because you deny it. It ends because you learn to fight it properly. Here's where most people lose. They pick a side. They cling only to the good parts of themselves: kindness, patience, positivity. They exile everything messy: anger, fear, envy, ambition. But Jung warned, if you only embrace your light, your shadow grows in secret. It doesn't vanish, it waits, it festers, it attacks when you're weakest. Suppressing your darkness makes it stronger, because the parts you disown become the puppeteers behind your worst mistakes. And the more you pretend you're purely good, the more you empower the chaos you refuse to face. Balance isn't found by denying your dark side. It's found by owning it. You can build success. You can win awards. You can stack achievements so high they touch the sky. But if you think success will silence the war inside you, you're wrong. Because the war isn't about what you have. It's about who you are ignoring. Every external accomplishment is a distraction unless it's matched by internal reconciliation. You don't heal your shadow by outrunning it. You heal it by turning around and walking toward it, slowly, courageously, without shame. Because every part of you that you've feared wants to be seen, understood, and integrated. You don't win the inner war by conquest. You win it by wholeness, and that's where the real battle begins. Everyone tells you to be better, faster, more productive, more polished. But Jung wasn't interested in perfection. He knew perfection was an illusion, a mask that fractures the soul. He taught that what you really need is wholeness. Wholeness means you don't cut off parts of yourself just to look acceptable. You don't amputate your anger, your fear, your ambition, your darkness. You bring it all with you. You integrate it. Because the mind at war with itself cannot build lasting peace outside itself. And the people who spend their lives chasing perfect end up exhausted, brittle, and lost. Perfection shatters you. Wholeness heals you. Ignoring your shadow doesn't protect you. It makes you vulnerable. Because the more you deny your darkness, the more power it has over you. It leaks into your relationships. It poisons your decisions. It sabotages your goals. You think you're making choices freely, but really, you're reacting to hidden wounds. Jung saw this everywhere. People blaming the world for problems they refused to acknowledge were self-created. Because it's easier to say, life is unfair, than to say, I am divided inside myself. But if you refuse to confront your shadow, you are destined to live your life on autopilot, a puppet controlled by invisible strings. You can only cut the strings by facing what you've tried so hard to bury. Shadow work isn't a trendy buzzword. It's an ancient psychological necessity. Shadow work is about reclaiming the parts of you that you exiled out of fear. Your aggression, channeled into protection. Your ambition, harnessed into purpose. Your sadness, transformed into compassion. Your anger, redirected into boundaries. You don't erase your shadow. You train it. You learn its language. You earn its loyalty. And when you do, you stop leaking energy into emotional chaos. You stop sabotaging your own peace. You become someone with depth, someone who isn't shaken by fear, because they've befriended the parts of themselves that once terrified them. Self-sabotage isn't random. It's the silent war winning against you. Every time you procrastinate on a goal that matters, destroy a healthy relationship out of fear, say yes to something that kills your soul, stay silent when your voice was needed. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because a hidden part of you is pulling the strings from the shadows. That part of you doesn't trust your conscious self because you abandoned it. You called it bad, wrong, shameful, and now it fights back. Shadow work isn't self-help. It's self-liberation. Because you can't conquer a battlefield you refuse to see. You want to change your life? Stop starting from the surface. Stop with the endless habits. Stop with the new planners. Stop with the quick fixes. Start with your inner terrain. Jung believed the true revolution isn't outward conquest. It's inner integration. The first step: admit there is a war. Stop pretending you're fine. Start listening to the parts of you that you've silenced. When you face your shadow, you start negotiating a truce inside yourself. And in that truce, you discover something you can't fake: power. Because a human being who has made peace within moves through the world unshakable. You think you're tired because you're busy, because life is stressful, because you have too much to do. But Jung would argue differently. You are tired because part of your energy is trapped. locked away inside the parts of yourself you refuse to face. Every buried emotion, every suppressed truth, every swallowed instinct costs you energy to keep hidden. It's like running a secret operating system in the background of your mind, draining your battery without you even realizing it. Shadow work doesn't just free your mind, it unlocks your life force. When you stop wasting energy hiding from yourself, you channel it into building, creating, living fully. The war inside you doesn't just steal your peace, it steals your vitality. Most people think resilience means toughness, stoicism, pretending you're fine no matter what. But real resilience is something different. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing, I have met my darkest parts and survived. Jung believed that strength is forged through confrontation, not avoidance. When you face your sadness, you're not weak, you're building capacity. When you face your rage, you're not losing control. You're learning to direct fire without burning down your life. When you integrate your shadow, you stop fearing yourself. And when you no longer fear yourself, the world outside loses its power to break you. You don't become free by escaping discomfort. You become free by mastering your inner world. Jung taught that most suffering isn't caused by external events, but by internal conflict. Freedom doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens. It means when chaos comes, you know where your center is. Because you've been to war inside yourself. You've negotiated peace between your contradictions. You've integrated your anger, your sadness, your ambition, your fear. And now, life can't threaten you with your own emotions. You don't break under pressure. You expand under it, because you're not fighting yourself anymore. If you're doing shadow work right, there will be moments that feel brutal, moments when you don't recognize yourself, moments when you feel lost, shaken, undone. And that's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're awakening. Because becoming whole means killing the false self you built to survive, the mask that smiled when you wanted to scream, the role you played to keep others comfortable, the self-image that kept you small, safe, invisible. Jung called this process the death of the ego. It feels like death because it is, but what dies isn't you. It's the prison that kept the real you locked away. Here's the paradox Jung saw so clearly. The parts of you you're most afraid of are the very parts that hold your freedom. Your anger contains your strength. Your sadness holds your compassion. Your fear hides your courage. Your desire contains your direction. The shadow isn't the enemy. It's the missing half of your soul. And until you stop fighting it, you will always feel incomplete. Shadow work isn't about making yourself better. It's about making yourself whole. And in wholeness, you don't just survive life. You become life itself. And when you're too busy battling yourself, you don't have the energy to question the systems around you. You stay small. You stay compliant. You stay exhausted. Jung understood this brutal truth. A fragmented person serves society better than a free one. Because a free person, someone who has made peace within, cannot be manipulated. They don't buy what they're told to need. They don't fear being misunderstood. They don't betray their soul for a seat at someone else's table. And that's a dangerous kind of human. Look around. What does society reward? The polished image, the curated life, the agreeable mask, the endless pursuit of status, appearance, and shallow validation. Not depth, not authenticity, not integration. The marketplace rewards persona, not self. It sells you 1,000 masks. be more positive, be more likable, be more marketable. But no one profits when you become whole, except you. Because when you live from your true center, you stop being a consumer of identities. You start being the creator of your own reality, and no one can sell you back to yourself. When you end the silent war inside you, you don't just feel better. You become unstoppable. You move through conflict without losing your center. You set boundaries without guilt. You chase goals because they matter to your soul, not because you're trying to prove something. People notice. They feel your presence. They recognize the difference between someone performing and someone embodying. Jung believed that individuation, the full realization of the self, creates a kind of gravity around you, a magnetism that doesn't shout, it just exists. Because true power isn't loud. True power is quiet, rooted, undeniable. Most relationships are built between masks, persona speaking to persona. But when you do the work, when you start living from your whole self, everything shifts. You stop attracting people who only want the polished version of you, playing roles to fit someone else's fantasy, settling for half-alive connections. You start drawing in people who recognize your realness, building relationships based on truth, not transaction, experiencing intimacy that doesn't require self-abandonment. Jung knew authenticity attracts authenticity, and the people who can meet you there, those are the ones worth walking with. This world doesn't need more polished performances. It doesn't need more empty success stories. It needs whole people, people who can lead without losing their soul, people who can love without disappearing into others, people who can build without destroying their own foundation. And that begins with you. Ending the war inside you is not selfish. It's not indulgent. It's the most radical act of contribution you can make. Because when you integrate yourself, you don't just change your life. You change the lives of everyone who crosses your path. Ending the silent war within you isn't about a single breakthrough. It's about small, deliberate acts of self-ownership. It starts with listening to the anger you dismiss, to the sadness you numb, to the dreams you mock because they feel too dangerous. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You don't need to fix your shadow. You need to face it. Name what you fear. Admit what you hide. Feel what you suppress. Because what you bring into the light loses its power to sabotage you from the dark. Awareness is the first battlefield. And if you can win there, you've already started to shift everything. Integration isn't a one-time event. It's a daily discipline. When you feel triggered, pause, ask, what part of me is reacting? When you feel envy, ask, what does this reveal about what I desire but deny? When you self-sabotage, ask, which abandoned part of me is trying to protect me from perceived danger? Shadow work happens in the small moments, the tiny decisions to stay conscious instead of falling back into old wars, choosing truth over comfort, choosing honesty over image, choosing depth over approval. It's not about being perfect. It's about refusing to abandon yourself again. When you begin to integrate your full self, a new feeling enters your life. Stillness. You stop leaking energy into unnecessary battles. You stop feeling like you need to fix yourself constantly. You stop chasing validation that never fed you anyway. You start standing, not to impress, not to defend, just to exist fully in your own skin. The war doesn't end with a parade. It ends with a quiet, steady certainty. I am whole, and no one can take that from me. And once you taste that wholeness, you'll never settle for division again. Most people will keep living fragmented lives. They'll keep fighting themselves in circles. They'll keep building towers on cracked foundations. They'll keep wondering why having it all never feels like enough. But you will have chosen the harder path, the quieter revolution, the deeper freedom. You will have done the work to end the silent war inside. And that makes you dangerous. Not dangerous to others, dangerous to everything that tried to keep you small, confused, and divided. Because a whole human being cannot be manipulated. A whole human being cannot be controlled by fear. And a whole human being is free. So now the challenge is yours. Where are you still fighting yourself? Which part of your shadow are you finally ready to meet? Not with judgment, but with understanding. What would it feel like to stop battling and start integrating? If this message stirred something real in you, if you're ready to end the silent war, leave a comment. What part of yourself are you ready to stop abandoning? And if you're walking this deeper path toward true wholeness, subscribe. Because the world doesn't need more perfect performances. It needs more whole, awake, fearless souls. Until next time, keep shining, not to be seen, but to see.